There was a time, not so far behind us, yet almost impossible to imagine today, when life moved at a slower, heavier rhythm, when every achievement demanded patience and every step forward felt earned through time rather than speed, when people didn't wake up to glowing screens filled with endless information but instead to routines grounded in physical reality, where knowledge was something you had to chase, not something that chased you. Where if you wanted to learn a new skill, you would walk into a library, flip through pages, take notes by hand, ask questions to people who might or might not have the answers, and accept that progress was slow, uncertain, and often frustrating, but also deeply meaningful, because effort created value in a way that is becoming increasingly rare today. Back then, opportunities were not only limited, they were also hidden, locked behind geography, connections, and access, meaning that where you were born often defined what you could become. And even the most ambitious individuals were constrained by systems that moved at their own pace, systems that demanded conformity, systems that rewarded patience over innovation. And yet, despite those limitations, people found ways to grow, to create, and to build lives they were proud of, even if those lives looked very different from what we aspire to today. Now fast forward to the present, and everything has changed in ways that are both extraordinary and overwhelming. Because today, we are surrounded by tools, by platforms, by technologies that have completely redefined what is possible. And at the center of this transformation lies artificial intelligence, not as some distant futuristic concept, but as a practical, everyday force that is reshaping how we think, how we work, and how we create, turning hours into minutes, complexity into simplicity, and ideas into reality at a speed that would have seemed almost magical just a decade ago. Today, if you want to learn something, you don't need to leave your room. You don't need permission. You don't even need to know where to start, because the answers are already there, waiting, organized, accessible, and increasingly personalized, guiding you step by step, removing friction, eliminating confusion, and accelerating your progress in ways that were never possible before. And this shift has not only changed how we learn, it has changed what it means to be capable, because skills that once required years of training can now be supported, enhanced, or even partially replaced by intelligent systems that amplify your ability to produce, to analyze, and to execute. And this is where the true power of the present begins to reveal itself. Because for the first time in history, the barrier between an idea and its execution has been drastically reduced, allowing individuals to move from thinking to doing faster than ever before. However, with this power comes a new kind of challenge, one that did not exist in the past. Because while previous generations struggled with scarcity, with not having enough information, enough resources, enough opportunities, we are now confronted with the opposite problem: an overwhelming abundance of everything. Too much information, too many choices, too many distractions competing for our attention at every moment, creating a paradox where having more options can actually make it harder to act, harder to decide, and harder to focus. And this is why so many people today feel stuck, despite having access to tools that previous generations could only dream of, because the problem is no longer access. The problem is direction, clarity, and discipline. In the past, the path may have been narrow, but it was clear, while today the path is wide open, but often confusing, and navigating that openness requires a new set of skills, not just technical skills, but mental ones, the ability to filter noise, to prioritize what matters, to stay focused in an environment designed to distract you, because attention has become the most valuable resource of our time, more valuable than money, more valuable than information, because without attention, you cannot fully use any of the other resources available to you. And this is where the concept of life hacks takes on a deeper meaning, because it is no longer just about saving time or finding shortcuts. It is about understanding how to operate effectively in a world that is constantly trying to pull you in multiple directions. It is about learning how to use powerful tools like AI, not as a crutch, but as a multiplier, something that enhances your strengths rather than replaces your thinking. Because despite all the advancements we have made, one thing has not changed, and that is the importance of human intention, the ability to decide what you want, why you want it, and how you are going to pursue it. Because without that clarity, even the most advanced tools will not lead you anywhere meaningful. The truth is, AI does not create success on its own. It accelerates the process of becoming who you already are. It amplifies your habits, your mindset, your consistency. So if you are focused, disciplined, and willing to take action, it can help you achieve results faster than ever before. But if you are distracted, inconsistent, and constantly chasing the next shiny thing, it will only make you more efficient at going in circles. And this is why understanding the past is so important, because it reminds us of the values that still matter, the importance of patience, of depth, of persistence, qualities that are often overlooked in today's fast-paced environment but are still essential for long-term success. In the past, people understood that mastery required time, that meaningful results could not be rushed. And while today we have the ability to accelerate many processes, we still cannot bypass the need for consistent effort, for deliberate practice, for showing up even when it is not easy. And this is where the real advantage lies. Not in having access to better tools, but in knowing how to use them in combination with timeless principles. Because when you combine the discipline of the past with the technology of the present, you create something incredibly powerful, a way of operating that is both efficient and effective, both fast and sustainable. And yet, despite all these opportunities, many people still find themselves overwhelmed, not because they lack potential, but because they are trying to do too much at once, trying to consume everything, trying to follow every trend, trying to keep up with a pace that is not designed for deep thinking or meaningful progress. And this is where the real shift needs to happen, not in the tools we use, but in how we use them, in choosing focus over distraction, depth over speed, intention over impulse. Because the truth is, you do not need more information. You need better execution. You do not need more tools. You need better systems. And you do not need more time. You need better attention, because attention is what turns information into action, and action into results. So when we look at the past and compare it to today, it is easy to assume that we have it easier, that everything is more accessible, more convenient, more efficient. And in many ways, that is true. But it is also important to recognize that every advantage comes with its own set of challenges, and that the real difference is not in the external environment, but in how we respond to it, how we adapt, how we choose to use the resources available to us. Because ultimately, the tools do not define our outcomes, our choices do. And this brings us to the most important realization of all, that we are living in a moment of unprecedented opportunity, a moment where the barriers that once limited people are gradually disappearing, where creativity is no longer restricted by skill, where ideas can be tested, built, and scaled faster than ever before, where a single individual can create something that reaches millions of people across the world without needing permission from anyone. And that is something that the past could never offer at this scale. But with this freedom comes responsibility. The responsibility to choose wisely, to focus intentionally, to build something meaningful, rather than simply consuming what others have created. Because the difference between those who succeed in this new world and those who feel lost in it is not intelligence, not talent, not even resources, but clarity and action, the willingness to decide on a direction and commit to it, to use the tools available not as distractions, but as instruments for creation, for growth, for progress. And this is where the real life hack of today lies. Not in finding shortcuts, but in understanding leverage, understanding how to use AI, platforms, and systems to multiply your efforts, to create results that would have taken years in the past, to turn small actions into significant outcomes through consistency and smart execution. Because when you understand leverage, you realize that you do not need to do everything yourself. You just need to know how to direct your efforts in the right way. And this is why this moment is so important. Because we are standing at a unique point in history where the lessons of the past and the tools of the present are both available to us, giving us the ability to combine wisdom with innovation, discipline with speed, intention with execution. And if we can learn to balance these elements, to take the patience and depth of previous generations and apply them using the technology and opportunities of today, then we unlock a level of potential that has never existed before. A level where success is no longer defined by where you start, but by how you think, how you act, and how you use what is available to you. Because in the end, the biggest difference between the past and today is not just the speed of progress, but the accessibility of possibility. The fact that for the first time in history, the tools to learn, to create, to build, and to grow are available to almost anyone willing to use them. And that changes everything, because it means that the future is no longer something reserved for a select few, but something that can be shaped by anyone who is willing to take action, to stay focused, and to commit to a path. And that is the ultimate shift from a world where opportunities were limited and controlled to a world where opportunities are abundant but require clarity and discipline to fully take advantage of them. And if there is one thing we can learn from comparing the past to the present, it is this: that while tools and technology will continue to evolve, the principles of success remain the same: clarity, consistency, focus, and action. And those who learn to apply these principles using the tools of today will not just adapt to the future, they will define it. Because the future does not belong to those who have the most resources. It belongs to those who know how to use them. And that means that right now, in this moment, you have more power than ever before, more potential than any generation in the past. And the only question that remains is whether you will use it to create something meaningful or let it pass by while you watch others do it. Because the choice, as always, is yours.